a little blustery this morning, but I'm glad that we could be here. I'm glad that most of us are doing better. That's good. I don't think I mentioned Kim. Kim is tested negative. Still just part of her quarantine, but she's doing much better. I have I joined this group of preachers, and what we do is we send our sermons to each other, and then once a month we get together and we'll talk about somebody's sermon. You know, we do a little written evaluation, and we get together on Zoom and talk about it. They're from all over the country. Vermont, Arizona, some from down in Conroe, Arizona, Minnesota, Chicago, just several of them. And this week it was my turn. It was my turn to do this week. And they were evaluating my sermon. And every one of them said, "Man, I love your congregation. They seem to be such a loving congregation. I got such a good vibe from your congregation." And I know this is just over a video that Kay's doing. And when it was like my sermon, but your congregation, she really loved y'all. They all loved you. And that was just kind of interesting. I wanted to let y'all know that they all loved y'all. You know, we've been looking at the book of John, and we're looking at kind of how there's a different perspective there. And we're going to continue looking at it this morning. We're going to read John chapter 1, verses 35 through 51. And this is where Jesus calls some of his first disciples. It's a little bit different than we see in the other Gospels. John has a little different perspective, which I think is good. That when we have this little different perspective, it helps us to get a fuller view of Jesus. And as we look at this passage, one of the things I want you to notice is how many times the Gospel writer says see, or saw, or looked. It's throughout the passage. And in reality, it's throughout John. John does that all the time. What did you see? What was seen or heard or looked? And so as we look at this, you don't have to count them, but just be aware of the number of times that the author of the Gospel of John talks about seeing. The next day, again John was standing with two of his disciples, and he looked at Jesus as he walked by and said, "Behold the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard him say this, and they followed Jesus. Jesus turned and saw them following and said to them, "What are you seeking?" And they said to him, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and you will see." So they came and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him for that day, for it was about the 10th hour. One of the two who heard John speak and followed Jesus was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which means Christ. He brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, the son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which means Peter. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered him, "Before Philip called you when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus answered him, "Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened, and the angels of God descending and descending on the Son of Man." Now when we look at the calls here of the disciples, we see there are different ways of doing it. When we look at Matthew or Mark or Luke, we see that basically Jesus comes to them and says, "Come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And it tells us they got up out of their boats and they followed Jesus. John has a little bit different, gives us a little fuller picture of different ways. One is that John the Baptist says to his disciples is, "Look, there is Jesus." And they go and follow Jesus. As someone else, John the Baptist, points them towards Jesus. And then there is Philip, who Jesus says, come and follow me, just like he did in the other Gospels. But we see that Andrew goes and gets Peter and brings him to Jesus. And we see Philip going and getting Nathanael and bringing him to Jesus. So we see different ways of this happening. As we see others pointing to Jesus, and bringing them to Jesus, and then we see Jesus directly calling them. And I think it's important to look at that so that we know that people come to Jesus in different ways. We're each different individuals. And some of us respond one way, and some of us respond another. But they come to Jesus. When we look at those first two, Andrew and the unnamed disciple, a lot of people think that may be John, the author of the gospel, but it doesn't say, just that he's unnamed. But they hear John the Baptist, their teacher, say, look, there is the Messiah. And they go and follow him. And I really like it. That's such a funny little story, is that Jesus turns and sees them and says, what are you seeking? Or what are you looking for? And do they answer that question? Or do they, it sounds like they're standing there and they kind of go, Jesus, where are you staying? And that's a strange way to answer the question of what are you looking for? Jesus says that several times in the Gospel of John. Sometimes it's, what are you looking for? It's when the man is on the steps for the pool and he's crippled. And Jesus asks him, why are you here? What are you wanting? And the man doesn't answer. Rather, he answers that every time the water is stirred, someone beats me to the pool. And Jesus heals him. When in Mark, where we see the blind Bartimaeus, Jesus asks him, what do you want me to do for you? And he says, I want to see. When they're coming into the garden to arrest Jesus, he says, who are you looking for? And then when he rises from the dead, and Mary Magdalene is there at the tomb, and she doesn't recognize him, he says, who are you looking for? That Jesus is always asking people, what do you want? Who are you looking for? And he's asking us the same questions today. If we were to be, imagine that we are one of those disciples. Let's be the unnamed disciple. And we've decided that we're going to follow Jesus because John told us to. And we're following him. And he turns to us and he says, what are you looking for? What are you seeking? Sometimes that's, I think, a little bit of a question that we want to admit sometimes. What are you looking for? What are you seeking? Now, our world today wants to tell us what we're looking for. If you watch TV at all, we know that they want us to be looking for a new shampoo that'll smell better. They want us to look for a new car that'll make us look better. They want us to look for a better tasting beer or some sort of chewing gum that lasts longer. They're always telling us this is what you should be looking for. But I think Jesus is wanting a little more than that. What are you looking for? And when we think about it, if we just take a little bit of time to think, what are we looking for? It reminds me of the preacher in Ecclesiastes who says that God has put infinity on men's hearts. That we are looking for more than just the better tasting chewing gum or the longer lasting chewing gum. That we are looking for God. And we may look for it in the wrong places sometimes. We may not always find it. But he is there to be found if we will look. And I think we need to recognize and think sometimes, what are we looking for? What is the reason that we are here? Because God is there to answer that question. The answer to that question every time is God, is Christ, is the life that he is offering. When we see Jesus answer that question, come and see. Come and see. I think there's more to that. Just as there was a lot to that question of what are you looking for, there's a lot to that answer of come and see. He's not just inviting them to come and see the apartment that he's living in or the house that he's staying at. He's asking them to come and follow him, to come and see what Jesus has to give, that this is something that he has on offer. And I like Nathanael in this story. As we look at him, he says, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And we look at that, well, that sounds a little sharp, a little a little derogatory for the people in Nazareth. Now, Kay would probably be saying that'd be like Stuart saying, can anything good come out of Oklahoma? And yes, there can be. My wife, that's one good thing. My mother, my grandmother, there you go. Good things can come out of Oklahoma. But that's kind of the way we treat Nathaniel sometimes. But think about what Philip has just told him. He says, we have found the one that Moses talked about, that the prophets talked about, and it's Jesus, the son of Joseph of Nazareth. And I think sometimes that we sell Nathaniel a little short here. Because I think Nathaniel knows his Bible. And what he is saying to Philip is, where do you find Nazareth in the Hebrew Scriptures? I don't think it's ever mentioned. It's not there. There's talks about where the Messiah will come from, and Nazareth is not mentioned. And so he's saying, what are you talking about? Nazareth. Can anything good come out of Nazareth if it's not talked about already in the Bible? And how does Philip answer? Come and see. I have a tendency, as a lawyer, as part of growing up in our faith tradition, is that when someone challenges you biblically or challenges you theologically, I want to go to the Bible, I want to get my text proof, and I want to go straight there. And I think there's a time and a place for that, absolutely. But sometimes we need to look at what Philip said. And Philip said, come and see. Come and see Jesus. Come and see what Jesus has to say. And I think sometimes that's the answer we need to have. When people challenge us, why do you believe this, or why do you do that? And the answer sometimes should be, come and see. Because I think when Nathaniel does go to Jesus, what does Jesus tell him? I saw you, but if you follow me, you will see greater than this. You will see angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Jesus is the Son of Man. He is that connection between earth and heaven, between the divine and between what we have here. That is the connection that we have. And when he tells Nathaniel, come and see, he is telling him, if you come, you will see God working on earth. And what a statement that is. God working on earth. Come and see God at work. And that's what you will see. And when we look at the rest of John, over and over, what we see is God's presence on earth. This is what happens when God is present on earth. This is not a new idea. It's not. Come and see. There's so much more to come and see than just observing. It's opening your eyes and being part of it. It's experiencing Jesus, experiencing God. Back in the book of Malachi, they are complaining about what's going on. And one of the things God tells them through the prophet Malachi, bring the full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open the windows of heaven for you, and pour down for you a blessing until there is no more need. Put me to the test. I think that's very similar to come and see. Do what I tell you and see what happens. Come and see. Follow me and see. When we look at this, when I think sometimes of the transformation that can occur when we do participate in Jesus, I think sometimes that it is that we become a better person, and we do. I'm not arguing that. But when we come to the Lord, when we see the Lord, when we experience the Lord, it has an effect on us. It doesn't just make us a better person. It makes us a new creation. Anybody can go down to Barnes & Noble and get them a really good self-help book. And you can become a better person. But only Christ makes you a new creation. Makes you someone that walks with God. When I think of transformation, sometimes I think of, the caterpillar to a butterfly. And when we grit our teeth and we go get that self-help book, and we try to be better, we may become a better caterpillar. But only Christ makes us a new creation and transforms us into that butterfly. It's not up to us. It is come and see what God does. When we have that interaction with God, it is a new creation. And that's what God is offering us, and that's what Christ was offering to Nathanael. Come and see. There's more to this, again, than just watching. It is a situation where you will taste. This is out of Psalms. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Taste and see. Experience the Lord. Come and see. Come and taste. Come and experience a life with Christ. And see the transformation that occurs when God works on us. When Christ works on us. And that's where the transformation occurs. You know, Wednesday night, we were talking in class about 2 Corinthians 12, where Paul has a thorn in the flesh. And Paul comes to the conclusion that in his weakness, this thorn in the flesh, whatever it may have been, this weakness is what makes him strong in the Lord. And we were talking about us. What are some of the weaknesses we may have as a people or as a congregation? And one of the things is we are a small congregation, obviously. And so we don't have everything that the large congregation may have. We may not have 6 ministers. We don't pay Blackie a big salary for being a music minister, even though he is. We don't have all the resources to do outreach and to send people wherever. But one of the things that we do have is we have the ability to say to anybody, come and see. If you want to come and see the love that we have for each other, come and see. If you want to come and see the welcome we will give you, come and see. That yes, we are small, but in our weakness of smallness, we have the great strength of being able to show people that we love them, that we love God, and that God is here with us. You know, I was talking at the beginning that the people that were reviewing the videotape talked about what good vibes they got from the congregation. And I thought about that, and that's right. And one of the things that we have is we have that love for each other and that love for the Lord. To come and see. Come and see how we do here. I have no problem inviting anybody at all, to come and see. You know, when Jesus asked those 2 disciples, and he said to them, what are you looking for? What are you seeking? And they answered with that strange question, where are you staying? When you look at that word staying, it's translated staying, the Greek word that is translated that way. It also can be translated abide. Where do you abide? And we know that in John, Jesus talks a lot about where he abides. He says, I abide with the Father abides with me. And where does Jesus abide? In you. Jesus abides in us. So when we ask that question, where are you staying and where are you abiding, Jesus? The answer is here with us. The answer is here in our hearts and our minds, and he is here with us today. That he abides with us. And I think it's so important that we remember that. And when we think of answering that question of come and see, we are asking people to come and see that Christ is here with us. That if you want to meet Christ, you can meet him here with us. And I appreciate so much the love that y'all show us, the love we show each other, and the love that we show to people that come. And now we're at that point that if you need something, we're going to ask that you come. That you come and see the Lord. That you come and ask for prayers. That you come and be with us. And we're going to ask that you do that as we stand and sing.